All right, it's official. It's 4:04 on June 7th, and we are here for the youth intersection for wrapping up Wear Orange in honor of Hadia Pendleton, who was killed in Chicago a few years ago. Hi, baby. And we're here to wear orange. We're here to bring youth voice to the table, and we're here to bring hope and healing to this gun violence prevention movement, and honestly, right now, to our world. I believe that each of you today are going to bring hope through the possibilities that you share, and we're going to bring healing by way of fellowship and just sharing our truth. So thank you everyone for being here. I am recording this webinar or intersection slash roundtable so please feel free to let me know that information. I really wanted to bring today, I'm sorry. I really wanted to bring today to Gun Violence Awareness Month. As some of you guys may know, Friday was a big day across the nation with honoring victims who we've lost to gun violence. But for the entire month of June, I think it's necessary to dedicate more time to something that is so detrimental and traumatic to our souls, to our hearts, to our minds. And being in this work for the 30 years I've been on this planet, because I was born to a gun violence survivor, and then lost friends, and then lost family, and then lost more friends, and then I started losing youth. I thought it was important to, again, bring you all's voice to the table, because everything that I'm doing and the seeds that I'm planting amongst many advocates and activists out there, we may not be able to see that change or even be here for that change, but maybe you and your daughters and your sons or granddaughters and grandsons can see that change. So I want to plant the seed. I want to empower you guys. I want to uplift you guys, and that's essentially why we're here today. So I wanted to, again, center everybody's feelings, emotions outside of this camera. It's so much going on. If you just heard from my great aunt who came into the room, who raised me, I'm very grateful for her, because it's those positive adult relationships that allow us to combat those adverse childhood experiences that kill us. So I thank people for her. But if you heard her, she mentioned that I just came from New York. So everything's going on, I'm sure, for everybody, and you guys are choosing to be here with us. So I want to share an activity just to center everybody. We do this with our young people. It's an emotional intelligence tool that the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence created. Do not laugh at my tabs. I ask that you actually be better than me, because multitasking can be detrimental too. So if you could use the chat to share with me by color, how are you feeling today? Just by chat. And while I'm getting those responses, let me make it clear that this is a tool. I want you guys to screenshot it. I can share it. You can log onto my Instagram and find it. But this is a tool that I want you guys to start to use daily, maybe weekly. It's something you can bring to the table with your friends, parents, that positive adult. But labeling your emotions allows you to regulate them. And we preach that we need to understand the shooter. And in understanding the shooter, and the shooter understanding themselves, they need people around them and in their environment, in their relationship basket, to be fully competent emotionally and capable emotionally of helping them understand themselves. So the better we are, the better everyone is as leaders in this work. So just look at it for a really quick second. The y-axis shows how much energy can evolve as a result of these emotions, and the x-axis shows our pleasantry. So I'm feeling very green right now. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to read a few chats, and I'm going to go ahead and get back started so we can keep our schedule. All right. So we're going to get started. Let's see. I'm sorry. Let me read a few chats. I got a little bluish, orange, yellow, green, blue. Thank you for being honest. Green, bluish, blue, orange. Make sure you pay attention to those words. Green from one of my favorite young ladies. Bluish green, yellow green. I'm a yellow green most times. Pretty reserved. I was born with this beautiful ability to think positively all the time, and that's how I started Trigger. So, and four. Um, but without further ado, I want you guys to hear from one of my youth who's more than just a mentee. She's a little sister. She's a part of me, and I can't wait to see everything that she does with her platform. But the poem that she is about to share, I'm going to let her introduce herself and the poem. Is important for us to get started with today because she talks about perception. And I'm just going to stop there and let Yanis take over the floor. Yanis, if you can unmute your mic.
My name is Yanis, and this poem is entitled The Way You Perceive Me. You think I'm crazy. You think I'm insane. You think I'm mean outside of my frame. But I know for a fact you don't feel my pain. Females want to be me, I'm convinced. Copying is their specialty. You all honestly don't know the real me. All I ever felt was pain. Arc left me, but I refused to go insane. Before all that, I say I got my heart ripped on my chest. I swear and I swear I wasn't going to go back. Come to find out, he left me for a brat. You think I'm crazy. You think I'm insane. You think I'm mean outside of my frame. Lies cause me pain. Tears cause me shame. I pray to God, make it all go away. I want to feel safe. Just give me my space. Make it all go away. You think I'm crazy. You think I'm insane. Ask me why I act the way I do. I bet you won't feel the same.
Snap, snap, snap. Yeah. Thank you, Yanni, for sharing your power and your gift, God-given gift. Like I said, I can't wait to see where it takes you. You guys probably know her already because she's in everything that I do. And Yanni, could you share your number that I normally ask you to share?
3.
Thank you. You can leave it there. I'll explain that later. So I'm looking for Day Day. Day Day, are you present today? Misha, I might need your help in replacement of Day Day. I know. We just had a conversation earlier this week. I'm put someone on the spot because I had a young lady who was going to represent For Youth, which was my first organization that I started 4 years ago. I'm stopping my video so that you guys can hear me clearly, but I started For Youth in honor of my uncle, Doug Bell, who was killed by a 19-year-old. He was 21 at the time. And I started a 6-week summer program where kids were actually paid to come and work on themselves. Every year I tell them the best project to work on is yourself. So we first learn self-awareness, then we go into social awareness, and we do a gun violence interview. And Misha was getting ready for her freshman year in college when I met her last year. And we had very similar stories. She was the oldest in her family. She was the first to go to college. And we just celebrated ourselves often. And when I do work in cities like D.C., there's a very high guard up by young people, even if you come from the same place as they do. But Misha was someone who opened her heart and her mind to me. And I just want her to share 3 minutes of really what you're going through right now, honestly, right now as we speak.
Okay, in my neighborhood, it's literally every day. Last weekend, I shot up a car. Um, it's just really been a lot. I lost an uncle to gun violence not too long ago. He was sitting in his house, and they were shooting around his way, and a bullet came through his window and shot him in the head. It's just, I've been going through a lot. Like she said, I didn't finish my first year of college by myself, focusing on school and stuff. I don't know what else to say. Come on, come and get it. Come and get it.
Misha, how many people would you say you've lost to gun violence? And next thing, what are you doing, or how do you think? Actually, this is a question from our character calendar for gun violence awareness month. How has gun violence allowed you to find your strength or gifts or purpose in this world?
Can you ask that question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that was me. I'm a long question to ask, and my mom is in here so she can vouch for that. I asked how it was from our character calendar that we created for the month. I asked how has gun violence how have you recovered from a gun violence setback, and have you found any purpose in it? Okay, we might have lost her. I just know that the education she's getting at Norfolk State, she's working hard right now, even to um, pay for that education. And what I want you guys to understand is um, sometimes economic opportunities don't end gun violence because right now, as we speak, her boss is threatening to fire her because she doesn't feel safe coming outside to go to work, but he doesn't have the understanding and compassion that allows her to get a peace of mind. So for a long time earlier this week, we had to speak just for me to give her permission to be okay and not feel obligatory and compelled to go to work. So know that there's so many facets to this trauma. With that being said, I want to talk a little bit about healing and love. So, Mr. Ruquan Brown, I'm going to let you reintroduce yourself and your story. You have about 7 minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Ruquan. Ruquan Brown. I'm a graduating senior at Benjamin Banneker in Northwest DC. I've had some of the craziest experiences with gun violence. Um, I think it gets harder and harder as the years go on to talk about it. You may have seen me. I started an anti-gun violence clothing line called Love One to help people heal from gun violence and community violence, but also to use a portion of the proceeds to donate to help end gun violence. And I think those two things are important because I don't want to heal from gun violence in my lifetime, but then have my kids have to do the same thing. And so if I can create something that could allow me to heal and prevent anybody else from being traumatized by it, I think that's the perfect solution. I started Love One my junior year in high school. I had a teammate who was killed in 2017. My stepdad was then killed in 2018. I play football. I'm on my way to Harvard to play football next year, or this school year, or next school year, who knows. But my stepdad taught me the game of football. He taught me what it meant to be a young man, be a man, and play that sport. And what was most important off the field, he taught me how to handle those things, like school. Losing him my junior year was traumatic, was tragic, any of those words, because, as a high school football player, thinking about going to college and having a college. And I ended up earning 25 offers to play football, but I didn't get to enjoy any of those experiences with my stepdad, who taught me the game. So it was a tough journey, one that was traumatic because it's very hard to see myself succeed because mentally, because many people around me have been brought down by gun violence. Recently, I've been talking with my teammates, future teammates at Harvard, guys in my class and guys older than me. And my challenge to them, the white men that are on the team that say how much they are down or how much they have our backs in this fight against not only gun violence but injustice, and which often go hand in hand. My challenge to them is to support the brand. And what it looks like to support the brand is it's not just to buy a t-shirt. It could also be to share it with somebody who could benefit. It could also be to share it with somebody who would profit, who would be able to profit off of it. Share it with somebody who would be able to use the brand as therapy. Any of those ways are ways to give. I think right now more than ever, people that are disproportionately affected by things like gun violence need help. And my brand is a perfect avenue to do that. So I think I want to give you guys a tip or two as it pertains to kind of healing and growing. And one of them is I think it's very hard sometimes to be honest with ourselves in the healing process, but it's very important that we are. And it's very important that you're honest with yourself because then no one else can come along and trick you while you're vulnerable and while you're hurting. It's very, 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 very important that you are able to look yourself in the mirror and be honest with about how you feel, whether it's good or bad. And you don't have to tell anybody but yourself, but no matter what it might be, you must confess those things related to your hurt to yourself. That way, nobody will be able to come and trick you, take advantage of you while you are hurting. Pain, hurt, and trauma can sometimes be a good thing because on the other side of it is healing and is love. So I want to encourage you guys today to use love and do things that aren't counterproductive and aren't temporarily fulfilling, but do things that are long-term fulfilling. Do things that feel good right now, but are also going to be good to you later, and do things that maybe don't feel good right now, but will be good to you later. Lastly, for the young people in the room that have been affected by gun violence, it's very, very, very important that you're thinking about your kids. And it might be easier to take a drug or drink a drink to feel better, but it's very important that you make decisions that your kids won't suffer from, but that they'll be able to appreciate you for. So thank you. I'll leave the link to my website in the chat. If you want to, I'll even leave my phone number if you want to reach out. If you have questions or you want to continue conversation, let me know. Thank you, guys.
Can everybody give a round of applause for me? I actually saw this young man on the news several times before. I was honored to be beside him on the panel, and we've just clicked ever since. He's donated to my organization, and we're actually working on something special that we'll be revealing for college students later this year. So thank you so much, Rue. You are a blessing. I'm going to turn my camera off with my sound. And when you are ready, it is your turn.
Great, thank you so much. I think Elijah is gonna share his screen.
I shared my, yeah.
1 second.
Sounds good. Oh, I'm sharing with Elijah, not you. Okay, I can see that. Let me I got you, babe. Also had an honor speaking with Elijah, and this was right before the pandemic hit. And we were picking up a lot of momentum. Elijah and another young, a youth lead ambassador for Trigger Project did a panel with March for Our Lives, and it still gives me the chills for you guys to hear from them. Not my generation, you're up next.
Awesome. So, hi everyone. My name is Elijah. I use him as pronouns. I'm from Michigan, but I go to school down in Virginia. I have been personally impacted by gun violence, and that's why I do the work that I do. My uncle was shot and killed February 1st of 2006. And I do this work for him, and I do this work for the countless others that have been murdered. And that's a little bit about myself. I'm the policy and advocacy director for Not My Generation, and I love the work that I do, being able to meet so many people across the country. That's a little bit about myself, Bahar.
Yeah, and I'm Bahar. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the director of partnerships at Not My Generation. And I go to Georgetown University, and I got involved with Not My Generation because it's a very unique organization in that it allows organizers and people who are interested to join them, and they're seeking like every organizer from every community, and it's very diverse and intersectional, and that's what I love about Not My Generation. And I love being the director of partnerships because I get to talk to organizations and organizers around the country who are doing amazing work.
Yeah.
So today we're going to just talk about Not My Generation and who we are, our values, and our organizing model. And we will also get into our yearly summit, and then we will take some questions if you have any. So Not My Generation is a nonprofit organization committed to localized intersectional gun violence prevention advocacy for young adults. And we are committed to creating and convening diverse intersectional coalitions in partnership with young organizers around the country. And key to our organizing strategy is the coalition model, which Elijah is going to get into.
Yeah, so a little bit about our values as Not My Generation. I'm not going to read all of this because I understand that it's a lot of text, but I'll just read some of the sentences in it. Is Not My Generation is dedicated to being proactive in the fight to end gun violence, which means that we're taking all of our work from advocacy approach, from a policy approach. When we're working with organizers, it comes from an anti-racist, anti-sexist, anti-bigotry, anti-poverty approach, anti-ableist, anti-war ideology, and that perspective with everything that we do. Which means in turn that like when we're doing our work, it is pro-LGBTQ+, it's pro-women, it's pro-Black, it's pro-immigrant, it's pro-youth, it's pro-survivor, and of course it is pro-love, because at the center of the gun violence prevention movement, it is love for human beings and humanity. Something else about our values that I think is so unique is that since we're focused so much about a localized style, which I'll get into a little bit later, we as a national organization, we just want to help convene and build resources, use the power that we have and the time that we may have to help local organizers when they ask. So that's a little bit about our values and what we stand for and the lens that we look through when we're supporting policy or doing advocacy work in any way. So our organizing model, like Bahar said, is a bottom-up approach. We have coalitions, which they do a lot of local organizing, building community networks. And then we have our regional coordinators that help bridge divides across cities and states, across religious lines, across racial lines, to help really build those movements in local communities. But a lot of the onus, since we are a bottom-up approach organization, is on coalitions to create the much needed change that they believe is right for their community, and having that autonomy and where it's not a national organization telling them what to do. It's something that I really enjoy about Not My Generation. I'm glad to be part of it. With that being said, we do have a board of directors though. We like to use the privilege and the time that we do have, like extra time and sometimes monetary resources and the ability to gain funds. We host a yearly summit that goes into some of the nuances of gun violence prevention. We host trainings within that, but Bahar will get into that a little bit more later. We have an annual advocacy guide that comes out. We do mass phone banking, we do lobbying. We really focus on connecting and convening organizers at the end of the day, and as well as doing digital trainings, but so much more too. I couldn't list the amount of things that we've been able to do across coalitions across this country. So I'm very grateful for that, for everyone that's a part of Not My Generation. So this is a potential Not My Generation coalition. So this is a typical slide that I tend to show, whether it be to our partners that we show it to or regional coordinators when we're looking at what a coalition looks like. Coalitions have the power to bridge people across divides. So it's about bringing people from all different chapters, organizations, different individual autonomous organizers to the table, whether it's religious justice activists, Democratic Socialists of America chapter, whether it's a passionate activist that is non-affiliated, NAACP activist, March for Our Lives, bringing people together to sort of work with one another, understand how all of these issues of economic injustice and gun violence is intertwined. Yes. Here are some of our active coalitions. We have coalitions in Michigan, Florida, Denver, Arizona, and so many other places across the country. These are our most active coalitions. However, we do have about 25 that are still starting to get set up and understanding how to do coalition work. Since we don't always focus on coalition building and movements, we're really proud that some of these coalitions, whether it be from Michigan, Florida, Arizona, are able to start building those coalitions within their communities. This is our yearly advocacy guide. It doesn't go into too much detail on the slide, but there is a lot of content packed into this. It's about a 30-page report. It's data convened from organizers across the country. 125 individuals came together to make this guide. So it was a lot of people putting in the time and energy. It goes through things like how to host a town hall, how to host a phone zip, how to get involved with campaigns, a multitude of areas. And we're really, really excited to branch off this year and create an even longer guide while still understanding that this is a resource that is supposed to be for individuals that don't have time to necessarily go out and understand it all the time, you know? This is about giving working class people, giving marginalized folks the resources so they don't have to go searching for it themselves. And that's something that I appreciate about Not My Generation. Another thing that we offer is the policies and facts for 50 states as well as DC, which looks at the policies within your state as well as statistics. Again, it's compiled resources from organizations across the country, and we're very grateful to be partnered with these organizations and to work with them to create something that is easy to read, easy to use for organizers who may not have as much time to do the research on their own.
With that said, we also have our yearly summit. So in 2019, we hosted our first summit in Washington, D.C. with over 125 activists and 30 speakers. And we basically want to bring together a diverse group of organizers to meet individuals in their regions across the country. And we want them to learn from organizers on the ground through attending trainings, going through modules, community events, etc. And we want them to engage with local communities because we want them to build a web of connected organizers so they can focus on issues and policies within their own communities.
Yeah.
And we also have to thank our partners because nothing would be possible without them. And as an organization that acts as an aggregator, it's really important for us to have partners such as March for Our Lives, Giffers, Youth Over Guns, because they are doing amazing work and we love what they're doing and we want to uplift every work they do.
Yeah. So here's the context. So Bahar's email's there, my email's there, and then of course, general Not My Generation inquiries as well. We also have Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We would love to stay connected. The work that y'all are doing from the presentations that we've seen so far, the conversations that we've seen is really, really powerful, and we would love to highlight your work in any way. So thank you all for doing the work that you do. And that's a little bit about our organization. If you have any questions, please feel free to bring them up. But yeah, if you have any questions, let us know.
And make sure to follow us on social media so you can be updated about our upcoming events. We also, we hosted a phone banking session recently for the Black Lives Matter movement, and we're doing another one. So make sure to follow us so we can let you know when that is.
I'm forward and anxious to become an official partner. I have 2 organizations that can join that list. So I look forward to talking about that later on. And also that advocacy guide. Oh my goodness. There's no need to reinvent the wheel, so I can't wait to see how we connect. Thank you both. Round of applause for them. These people are young. Celebrate them. Celebrate yourselves. That leads me to a story. Thank you, Katie. That do you have your mic on? Are you ready to share your story of survival?
Hello, I'm sorry, I couldn't really hear you if you were addressing.
I was giving you the floor. It's your turn to share your truth.
Okay. Hi, my name is Alexis Jones. I'm a graduating senior from Thurgood Marshall Academy and an active member of Pathways to Power. Really, I'm just talking about like my testimony and what's brought me here. A month prior to moving to DC, I'd lost one of my closest friends in violence in a suicide murder between her and her at the time. And I just remember thinking, you know, what if I had invited her to sleep over? She had invited me and I had went over and maybe I could help her. All these things that pull us away from the conversation of healing that we're all talking about today. And I just, Georgia, thinking all these questions and not having an answer. But when I moved to DC, I noticed that the conversation around gun violence was brought up more often, and they started to unpack gun violence and why it happens and all the causes and finding answers to this. And it's helped me cope because regularly we hear gunshots and about our lives in an effort to cope, even though the majority of us have lost people to gun violence. And all of these different facets ideas have led me to joining Pathways to Power. And Pathways to Power is an organization born after the death of 2 Thurgood Marshall Academy students. And it's a gun violence intervention. And now the group more so focuses on all aspects of community sustainability and building. Our mission is to support and empower local young people to take lead on causes that impact their lives and their futures. So gun violence, mental health, education, poverty, and even education. So next is going to be Michael Blackson, and he has a video that kind of expands more on Pathways to Power and what we do.
Okay, thanks for that introduction, Alexis. I was hoping you would have kept the video surprise, but you know, you kind of ruined it. So thanks to Alexis, guys. Round of applause for ruining the surprise. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you guys the Pathways to Power video. And that should be on Google Chrome right here. I'm going to share it. Let me know if you just give me a thumbs up if you guys can see like my screen. I'm going to restart the video because I did a test. Cool. Perfect. So I'm going to restart the video. This is from Pathways to Power. Excellent video. You know. Can you hear? Thumbs up if you hear. That's what I like to hear.
At a certain point, you start to think that this is normal. You think that gun violence is just going to happen.
But this is not normal. Every community does not experience this.
I'm in the right place at the right time, and this is still happening to me.
We're losing our friends and family every day. What if I'm next?
What if I'm next?
We have a right to grow up without gun violence. We have a right to go to school without fear. We're not born into this world with hatred. We're born with love. We recognize our greatness and our ability, and we deserve a future.
We don't need to wait for adults to make policy changes. We have the power to do this by ourselves. We can change our communities.
We want a neighborhood where everyone watches out for each other, and a school where we can be safe. We want our friends to stop normalizing the gun epidemic, and we want role models who promote peace and respect.
Think about the legacies of the people who have passed.
Work to change the narrative.
We're up. We are the next wave.
So that was pretty much it. Before I'm gonna stop sharing and share again and go to the PowerPoint. that I have taken for MikVa. It's another organization. MikVa is a similar goal, so I'm not gonna, waste my time on that. It's a similar goal that we work on local things and encourage youth to be local within politics. We encourage youth not only in gun violence, clean the streets, community service, just wide around of being a good model citizen. So also shout out to Karen Lee. She's in here. She is the facilitator for Pathways of Power. Outspoken, but just to give me a thumbs up again if you guys can see my PowerPoint. Cool. Let's begin. So this is just some tips on youth advocacy. It's a student's perspective, my perspective, and if it's okay if you guys don't agree, but just type question in the chat. So let me go ahead and begin. So quick intro, my name is Michael. I'm graduating from Thurgood Marshall, and I'll be attending SUNY Cortland in the fall. And I've been following social justice through youth advocacy for roughly 5 years now, with this recent one being the most impactful. And I'm from Washington, D.C., as you can see all the way on the right. Just so we can be on the same page, to me, social justice is the view that everyone deserves equal economic, political, and social rights and opportunities in the world. And advocacy is the act or process of supporting a cause or proposal, i.e. legislation, laws, bills, etc., etc. So here are a few tips I have for some advocating success. Own your voice. If you're in a space, you deserve to be there. Let it be known that you're there. You're youth and you already have a stigma that what you have to say has no value. Change the narrative. Number 2, do your research. Time is always of the essence, and when you do and don't do research, it definitely shows. And don't have a defeatist attitude is one of my other tips. If you feel like something is over before it starts or begins, then it is over. More tips. Take breaks. This one is self-explanatory, but breaks enable clear thinking, which is really important for advocating and just anything in life. Take breaks. Communication is another one. Communication is key and is important that everyone understands what's going on and is constantly on the same page so we can all be effective. This last one here is just being unbiased and remaining unbiased. Unbiased is showing no prejudice for or against something, being impartial. By being unbiased, you can know your enemy and know who you're debating and promote something or denote something just by knowing what you're arguing for or against. So try to stay unbiased. And my next slide here is make sure you follow MikVa Challenge DC on Instagram and Twitter. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to keep this this presentation real short because, like most of you guys, I probably have a short attention span, and I like the information like quick and easy. So definitely follow Pathways of Power too. Follow MikVa Challenge right here. I want to thank you guys for the time, and that'll be all. Thank you.
Round of applause for Mike and Alexis. My little one is upset because I took the marker from her. So teaching her how to model emotions this early is important too. So gun violence prevention can start at birth. Gotta let her get it out, or all the way up. Mike, can you talk a little bit about how 4Youth help you find your voice?
So as you guys know, 4Youth is Tia's program, and unfortunately it did not help me whatsoever. So if Tia did it, it didn't work. No, I'm just kidding. 4Youth helped tremendously. It helped me find my voice in the advocating world. 4Youth is what its title suggests, is for youth. It's not for youth and make sure they're comfortable. Sometimes 4Youth put you out your comfort zone so you can be successful. Through joining 4Youth, I was able to meet new people, talk to new people. That sounds like the same thing, but it's completely different things. Learning how to communicate and conversate are really effective. I've learned that you want to thrive in the conversations, not to survive, because those are two different things. In new spaces, I just don't want to survive and get by when talking to people. I want to thrive and dominate in those areas. I want to let it be known, let my presence be known, because there's already a stigma because I'm Black, number one, and number two, I'm a young man. I'm young. I'm a young person. So going against those stigma is something I learned through Pathways of Power, MikVa, and 4Youth. So with those assets, anybody can be great.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Mike and I got to reconnect because the pandemic slowed me down, and I got to get on Instagram and actually scroll and engage instead of just post and work. And in that conversation, he expressed gratitude for me promoting youth voice before he even knew it was a buzzword. So I learned about it when getting my master's in youth development. I did it with intention because my young people, again here in DC, sometimes they lack the capacity to engage. So if you bring them in as a co-pilot to design the program, bring in the guest speakers, create a coalition, create a advocacy guide, create a video. If you put them in the equation, then you see more engagement. So thank you for being a product of really my dreams, and just being you, continuing to be the change. And congratulations to you, graduate, and same to you, Alexis. You guys made it. You made it. Next, we're going to play a quick game, and then we have two more quick speakers. I'm going to try to get you guys out of here by 5:10. With that being said, all year long we have activities. So if you follow the Trigger Project on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, you'll see that we are trying to engage people as much as possible. So with that being said, if everybody could turn their mic on, this might get messy, but I'm going to give, I'm going to give a few seconds to people who want to answer the first thing that I say as they're this or that to speak, and then I'll give another few seconds for the second thing that I say for people to speak or raise their hand. Or if you don't want to speak, you can use the chat. So for example, if I said, are you a night person or a morning person? As soon as I finish saying the prompt, the people who agree with the first one, I want you to speak immediately. Then we're going to wait a few seconds, and then I want the people who agree with the second part, being the night person, to say, I'm a night person, or I want to end gun violence through grassroots. So with that being said, if you had every resource in the world, every partner in the world, every bit of time in the world, how would you approach gun violence prevention? That's how we're going to think about this game. So with that being said, first one is, are you going to go with law and pursue policy, or are you going to go and fund and work on the grassroots, ground level, community-based level, and go? Who do we have in the call? Oh, policy, grassroots or community, this or that. Anybody?
Me.
Who is me?
My name is Shauna.
Hi, Shauna. I think I mispronounced your name earlier. Shauna, which one would you go with?
Probably grassroots.
Grassroots, and why? If you had everything in the world that you needed, why would you pursue grassroots?
I think a lot of the problems why people aren't able to touch youth so much is because they don't have all the resources, and that's really money. So if I had all the money, all the snacks to incentivize people, we could get a good group of kids together to really change the community, starting with themselves.
Make some change. That's you, young lady. I think you hit on with the snacks, because the stomach is the second heart, and that's how I get all my babies. So good stuff. We're going to keep going for the sake of time. Next person, be ready to answer this. Would you be a founder? Would you create an organization, or would you fund an organization? Would you donate, be the donor?
I would fund one.
You would fund one. Why? Can you say your name and why?
Carol King.
And why would you fund an organization?
Because I would like to be a financial supporter of an organization like this that's to deal with gun violence, health issues, or anything that what we need to do to change the paradigm of what's happening to us.
Thank you for your input. Next one, would you go organize locally or would you organize nationally? Who wants to speak up for this? This or that? Trigger. Anybody?
I can speak. I think I would try to, in a way, tackle both. You start nationally, but then make sure you divvy it up so that you have someone going to each at the local level.
Who's that speaking?
Alexis.
Alexis, good thought process. This game is often hard for me, Alexis, because I am indecisive as
Same.
so I'm a lot like you. I'm normally on the both side. So I'm gonna let you slide with that one because you're like me. The next one is, would you focus on the person pulling the trigger or would you focus on the people giving the guns and selling the guns? So would you pick shooter or NRA? Go.
My name is Michael, and just in case you want to know, I would definitely go for the shooter. Like, this one I've been waiting for, which I've been quiet because, I would usually say something. But shooter, I would definitely focus on the shooter because, if there are no shooters who support the NRA will theoretically collapse under itself if it has no supporters. So focusing on the shooter will reduce crime itself and it will reduce the money that the NRA receives, and they will collapse under itself. Knock two birds with one stone.
Two birds with one stone. Yes. I'm glad you didn't say kill. Public health or public safety? Which one would anybody go with? But public health is more so looking at like the risk factors involved, the health issues involved. Public safety model is more protection, funding police. Anybody have any thought on that? I know the Trigger Project is a public health model. We focus on the risk factors that lead up into pulling the trigger. And those are things like diminished opportunities and economic growth, poor schools, single-parent homes. Oh my gosh, there's so many things. Impulsivity, hyperactivity, low or poor grades. If you played bingo on Friday, you saw every risk factor involved. Anybody want to say? I'm going to keep going. Would you focus on mental health or gun safety? So thinking about the wellness that goes into pulling the trigger, or would you think about the actual gun? Does it need to be in a safe? Does it need to be held responsibly? Do people need to have the right to bear arms? How would you guys approach this or that?
I agree with you. It's mental health. But if anybody's going to go, they can go.
Mental health. Anyone else? Someone we haven't heard from?
You can't separate them.
I would also focus on mental health. I think it's important. And people think that mental health is like a scapegoat for all gun violence, which it's not. But we need to make sure that we're all doing well, not only the people who have access to firearms, but the people who are advocating. We all need to take care of one another. And to do that, then we can tackle like gun safety.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Create your own. Is it something, this or that, someone would like us to choose? Or one that I didn't think about? All right. Can everybody repeat after me and then complete the sentence? I will end gun violence within by. Go. I will end gun violence within by loving my daughter. I'm going to keep going.
How about revolutionary love?
Revolutionary love and radical resilience.
That's right.
That's right. That woman, that voice you're hearing, she taught me. So understand my grace. Next we have, give yourselves a round of applause for participating. You are very much in a Tia Bell program right now. This is a lot like our just a typical day in our development, youth development. And without further ado, I want to bring or open the floor up to one of the brightest young ladies I've had the privilege of speaking to. She has taught me so much in taking action in something I didn't ever dream of, which is policy. And she's doing it from a mental health perspective. So, Ariel, are you here? Can you take the floor?
Hello. Thank you so
Hi.
much for those really kind words. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna share my screen really quickly. But while I do that, I just kind of want everyone to like take a deep breath. Here we are. We've been going through this. And I just want to make sure that we're all doing well today. So as we do that, can you all see my screen? Cool. I am going to present. So my little thing is called Healing Through Policy, and this is something that I think is important, and I think that there are a lot of different ways to heal, and one thing I want to start off by saying is that not all healing through different routes is for everybody. So if policy isn't your thing, then there are so many other things that we can do to help one another. My name is Ariel. I'm a Jewish activist. I'm in this work partially because I lost my very close friend to suicide, and also because Jewish people are targeted as a hate group or by like hate crime perpetrators, and so gun violence is something that we've seen happen. And I think that I'm really intent on working with people who I love, and as Tia said, working off of mental health. So before policy even starts, we have to ask ourselves a few questions. The first one is like, who is a part of making this bill, and does that group represent everyone affected? So sometimes we've seen bills going into effect or going into Congress or the Senate, and not everyone has had a chance to talk about it. And bills can affect different people differently. And if we don't have everyone in these conversations, our conversations aren't whole. The next is who made this bill, what were their intentions, what does their past tell us, and what does their future say? And these are just questions to ask ourselves when we're looking at a policy, when we're looking at, is this going to help us or is this going to hinder us? Who's behind it? And then the next is who's advocating for this bill? What identities do they represent? Are there people who aren't a part of this conversation, and is grassroots involved? So we just did like a this or that policy or grassroots. One thing that's really important is making sure that grassroots are a part of this policy work. So if there isn't support, if people are saying, I don't think that's going to help my community, and that's a really strong indicator that that's not the policy for us, and that's not the policy that we should be putting our time into, if folks are saying that's not going to help my community. And the next thing is really important is a privilege check. As you're trying to pass these policies, like check your privilege. Do you have white privilege? Do you have gender privilege? What are things that are going on right now that you can evaluate and you can try to give some of that privilege away? Can you uplift someone through this work? And asking these questions, like I know that sometimes they can be hard, but they're really important to do. So the first thing, and the thing I've spoken to Tia most about, are mental health days. And mental health days would basically allow students to take time off of school, and their absence is excused for the purpose of their mental health. So one day you wake up and you're just not feeling it, and your emotions are getting to that day or whatever it is, you under this law or under this local regulation would be able to say, hey school, I'm gonna take a mental health day. And they won't count you as absent. It'll be an unexcused absence. So like, it's the same as like when you go to the doctor's office and your parent gets a note. And this is really important for a lot of reasons. One statistic is that Black high school students are twice as more likely to miss school than their white counterparts because of safety concerns. So we're already seeing folks disproportionately affected by gun violence, especially in schools. And exposure to gun violence can erode mental and physical health. So it's really important that laws like these can be passed. Also, schools aren't set up to support our mental health, and if they won't do it, then we will. So I think part of this is recognizing like students have to make space for ourselves, and people won't do it for us. And so, through this, we can really try to get some change. There are already a few states that have done this, like Oregon, and one like place in Maryland. And I'm working with people in Virginia to do it, but it's also really important to look at this from like a local perspective too, even in DC and like even in the different wards. It's really important to like look at who's affected by gun violence and who can benefit from having a from having a school system that benefits them and that works for them. The next is HR 2927. This was introduced by Ms. Gwen Moore. She is a Black woman congresswoman. She represents a Wisconsin district, and this is also known as Preventing Tragedies Between Police and Communities Act of 2019. And there is basically a special fund that people can apply for. It's called the JAG fund. And they're saying if you get this fund, then you have to be doing de-escalation training, and you have to be doing community work. And if you're not, then you're going to lose funding. Laws like this, they don't do everything that we need. I think it's become clear, especially more recently, that we need a lot more than just de-escalation. We need to really take a look at how we do our policing. But, it is one step that we can take to encourage this kind of dialogue. The next is a very recent one, and that's Senate Resolution 602. And the text isn't available yet, but the description that they gave is, quote, recognizing that the murder of George Floyd by officers of the Minneapolis Police Department is the result of pervasive and systemic racism that cannot be dismantled without, among other things, proper redress in the courts. So that means jail time for the folks who did it. That means like taking a look at budgets, taking a look at the police officers that were complicit, and really making sure, right, like as we go forward and as we try to figure things out as a collective, how can we dismantle the systems that aren't working? And I think that this is one way to do that. Although I think that routes like grassroots are just as, if not more important. And that's, kind of my 3 policies I wanted to talk to you today. I wanted to do a little mental health check-in after, and just take a moment to send some love to yourself, send some love to others. Take a moment if you need it. We talked a lot today. We talked a lot in the last, few minutes. And just like take a deep breath with me of noticing our breathing, noticing where we're at. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. But just taking a quick moment to notice where we are and taking a deep breath and knowing that we have community that we trust and we are in community together, and being thankful for that, and also being thankful for the community that we're going forward with. So that can look like the community that we're going to fight with. That can look like the community we're going to uplift. And so those are a few policies I wanted to talk about. That's all for me. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer. But I think that, hearing from you all has been really great today. And a huge thank you to Tia and everyone at the Trigger Project who's really doing the work and bringing us here today. I think that you're an incredible connector. And I know, for me, has made me feel really connected today. So thank you everyone for being here, and thank you, Tia.
Woo! I didn't have to say give her a round of applause. Good work, babe. And thank you for your 3 words. Kind recognizes kind, and you made me give myself a hug, and I needed that. So I'm hugging you too, virtually. All right, is March for Our Lives DC ready just to share your truth? I know we're still forming, but I think I'm giving, let's see. Actually, turn me your mic. I'm sorry. And I'll pin you to the front.
Lisa, do you want me to share the screen?
Yeah, I was about to say.
We'll do that.
I'm coming right to you. I didn't know who to send it to. It's nice to see you all in person.
Also, I apologize for only hopping on right now. I just had to lead a little bit of a phone bank to get Bowser to defund MPD. But I'm glad to join all of you.
Doing the work. Woo!
Yeah. Tia. Hello, Tia.
Yes, here.
Can you hear me?
I can. Everybody can.
Okay. I have a comment to make, and some of the people on your panel might know this. Is everybody familiar with the app, The Party of Lincoln? Or the app, 5 Calls app, where you can check on legislation? It tells you every congressional person, representative, whatever, what they're doing, and it gives you their contact information. And any issue that you need to know about, it will tell you all of that. That might be helpful when some of your people have these phone banks or whatever they're doing when they need to call or do something to get things moving, because you got to keep talking.
Try to put the links or the names in the chat.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shauna, working with March for Our Lives as their inclusion coordinator. Basically, that just means that making sure that the DC chapter really includes the voice of Washingtonians. And I'll just start with the presentation. Chris, you got the slides. So who are we? So we're just a collective of people throughout DC, Native Washingtonians, as well as college students. And there's 6 chapters. Most of them are college chapters, and then we have a DC collective. And then what we do is we empower young people through lobby days, through policy, and through grassroots to change their community and prevent gun violence.
Okay, hi guys, I'm Elisa. I'm the former state director for March for Our Lives DC. I was born and raised in DC, Brooklyn part, and I am so excited because I know a lot of you on this call. Shout out Ariel, Michael, Alexis, and Miss Bell. I was just on a call with Speakeasy with you on Wednesday, and I recognize you, so that makes me so excited. And I actually have my Team Enough shirt right now instead of my March. It was an accident, but I think you guys can relate that when you have a lot of activist shirts, you kind of just wear them casually, but I'm proud to rep Team Enough as well, So yeah, how we use our voice. So we have to speak about what our voice is, and to me, and to March, using your voice, it can come in many different forms. You voting, I don't know about you guys, but I stood 5 hours on Tuesday to vote in Ward 5. So, and to me, that's important. I work to lower the voting age to 16 in DC. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened, but I have been like a strong advocate and believer that voting is a voice. And I think you guys would agree as well. And civic engagement as well. We just put a lot of pamphlets and graphics in English and in Spanish on our socials about the local elections, about primaries. So I think it's already been mentioned a bunch of times already, but civic engagement and knowing in local elections is so important. So important. Yes, nationally is important, but locally is where the change happens. I mean, you guys are already familiar. Like, we are calling our Mayor Bowser, not anybody in Congress, but Mayor Bowser, to defund MPD because DC.
Also, it will explain whatever.
Yeah, and Black DC citizens face a lot of police brutality when it comes to MPD. And then another way that we use our voices is speaking on panels and press conferences. On the slide, you can see that Shauna, who had just spoke, she was on a recent panel this week with college Democrats about the atmosphere of what's going on with Black activists and the Black Lives Matter movement that we should all be fighting for right now. And press conferences and rallies. And also when I joined this organization, because knowing its roots, like this organization was founded in a predominantly white school because of a mass shooting. And when I joined this, I was like, this is the DC chapter. DC natives need to be included.
especially because we deal with everyday gun violence more so than we do like mass shootings or gun deaths by suicide. So really centering the voices on survivors, Black survivors and Black and Brown communities is so important and so essential. I cannot, and I know most of you guys know that as well. So what I wanted to do, which I hope March for Our Lives DC will continue to do, is center when we get like invitations to go speak at rallies or go to press conferences, is that is mostly focused on Black DC natives and Latinos because we experience it the most. So why have somebody who doesn't know what it's like to lose somebody to gun violence at all? You know, doesn't make any sense. Common sense, guys. So I've done that, and I feel like that's one of the most impactful ways to do it, to speak, because then you get to meet activists and things, and we love to do that. And then one of our other ways is that we don't speak on behalf of the community if we don't know what the community wants. That's not how you work with the community. You obviously don't go into the community and it's like, we're gonna give you this. You go into the community, you're like, what do you guys need? How can we serve you? Because I couldn't say it, but on the I want to end gun violence within, I wanted to say by serving my community, because, you know, we're not, well, I want to serve the community, not as like a victim or a savior, but because I love all of you guys. And then lastly, we lobby on the Hill. Unfortunately, we haven't lobbied on DC Council yet, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But yeah, we, as Ariel just said, that was amazing. All of those amazing policies that exist on the Hill, you know, because we don't have proper representation, it's still important that we're present in those spaces. The fact that, you know, although we don't, Eleanor Holmes Norton can only co-sponsor bills, the fact that we're like, I'm from DC, this is what I experienced, we exist, to acknowledge us is where we need to start and what we need to keep doing. So that's just some of the ways that we encourage to use your voice within this organization. Next slide. And here are some local policies we advocate for. So like we've mentioned before, Mayor Bowser is putting a lot of money into the MPD's budget, which is not okay because she's not investing into violence prevention programs, which we need. I think we all know that adding more police into Black and Brown communities is not the answer at all. And, you know, I've actually met some mediators and, you know, people from Cure the Streets and One's the program, people who actually from the community and know their people, who know the way, is better than putting someone who has a gun and obviously does not care for the protection of you and your friends and family. And then we also want DC statehood, which is something that we encourage nationally, because you can't advocate for gun violence and not recognize that DC doesn't have a proper voice or proper funding and all these other things that DC obviously needs. And then we, you know, voter engagement. I don't know if some of you guys are familiar with the new act that Robert Wright introduced, which like makes sure that formerly incarcerated citizens have access to, you know, all like come back normally and in a smooth process. I'm sorry, that was like really bad to explain it, but that's how I see it on the top of my head. So that also has to do with like voting and stuff. An important thing that I can think of again from the top of my head. And alternatives to police. Like I mentioned before, we need more mediators. We need more people who know the community instead of police who are obviously killing our people. So yeah, that's our local policies that we're advocating for. So I'm gonna pass it on to Chris, who's our state director about national policies.
Sorry, I had a little trouble there. My name's Chris. I've had the pleasure to work along with co-state director Halisa for the last almost year. It feels like it's been a year. But I'm very excited that, you know, we've gotten the chance to work with each other. I'm very sad that she's, you know, going to New York and going to college, but I'm also very excited for her personally. But these, I mean, I caught the tail end of what Ariel was saying in terms of policy. So I just want to say, like, what we've been focused on. You know, HR 2457, also sponsored by Gwen Moore, which is the Violence De-Escalation Act, which is, again, a lot of what we were saying on the local level, I think translates to the federal level. Like, whatever is important at a DC level, I think should be important at national level. We're not going to advocate for something that has no real rooting in the community. So, you know, going into ensuring community leaders are trained in de-escalation trainings, you know, empowering, you know, hospitals to have violence intervention programs, these things that we are looking at, you know, successful programs here in DC that could totally be used elsewhere and should be used elsewhere. We've also had, especially in the last few weeks, more of a focus on, you know, police violence and stopping the militarization of police. We've all seen just the insane amount of weaponry that the police have, and that's because the military and the Department of Defense can just give them weapons for free, and that's ridiculous. So we've been trying to stop that and lobby for that. And the last bill is just, you know, to get more of an effect and more of like data about how gun violence is a public health crisis. And I think that's something that we can all agree on, that it is a public health crisis, and it's important to treat it that way. And one thing I wanted to touch on before we just go to like the very end is something I've found very important, is how we build community here at March for Our Lives DC. Like, I've been, especially over the last 2 years since being involved in this organization, getting to know people from all different schools, from all different places throughout DC, I think has been one of the best parts about March. And I really like that, you know, we all try to get together, not just as, you know, we work together and we advocate together, but we're friends, and that we advocate together and go do things together. I don't know, without this, would I be friends with as many people, you know, from, you know, I go to Georgetown, like, would I be friends with people from American, from GW, from Howard, from Catholic? And I don't know if I would be. And I'm really grateful for the community that we've really tried to intentionally build here at March. But yeah, if anyone wants to get involved, follow us on the socials. It's all MFOL DC. We have a Slack where we do a lot of things to do phone banks and stuff. But yeah, that's all I think we had to say. Felicia or Shauna, if you wanted to add anything more.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something real quick. Sorry that you can't see my face. You caught me in the middle of a wash day, so hair's not together yet. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that Lisa and I are graduating from high school, or we graduated from high school, so we're off to college next year. But just to like piggyback off of what Chris said, March for Our Lives has really been a community, and I was brought in by Elisa, and so I'm thankful that she was able to invite me to the circle so I could be able to advocate for our community. So thank you.
Yeah, I would just build off of what you guys have been saying. You know, although March was founded the way it was, that turning the DC chapter into what it is to serve Black and Brown communities, and to make sure that the faces who represent March for Our Lives DC are Black and Brown people, and that will always be our mission. And to don't be afraid, like, follow us on socials, join our Slack, like any opportunity you see. When we're on the Hill, we have a lobbying collective and joint with Team Enough, a partnership, and we just finished our virtual lobby day on Friday. And you know, we did a sit-in in Mitch McConnell's office, and all these great things. So it would be great for you guys to join. And again, like, this call, I think, is one of the best calls that I've been on, because it's so like community oriented, interactive. We love to see it. I love the energy. It is genuine. I love genuine energy. Like, none of that, hi, it's so nice to meet you. No, you guys are amazing. And I really hope that we all get to connect and move forward. Although I won't be in DC in a couple months, but I would love to connect with you all and continue to be connected with all the people that I know. So thank you, Ms. Bell, for holding this space and inviting us to talk. And thank you for listening to us.
Well, going off to college is was definitely one of the best experiences of my life. So I hope that you share that. And then this pandemic has shown us that we can genuinely vibe and connect virtually. So this isn't the end. You guys are actually inspiring me to carry this on in some form. So stay tuned. I have a lot of young people who I work with in many capacities on this call, and I just want you guys to keep an open mind and open heart with, of course, supporting me in Trigger, but looking at all these avenues you have to fight a healthy fight. I branded this youth intersection as an experience of hope and healing. And the hope falls in all of these possibilities that you got and opportunities that you all are mentioning. And the healing is occurring right now just in our fellowship and in our dialogue. So kudos to you for sharing your truth. It's Student Demand Action DC here. And if not, P, I'm going to give you 10 seconds as an adult to share.
Yeah, I have for students.
Beautiful. Okay. That's easy.
My name is Greg on the thing because I'm using my dad's account. But I'm Shayna. I just started school in DC last year, this past semester, and I am one of the co-founders, along with a few other students in DC, of Students Demand Action DC colleges / just DC students. And basically we have like 3 things that we're focusing on. So the first one is policy, which I think all of us like have known for much of our lives and Team Enough and everything. So we work to advocate for all of those policies, along with we're gonna try to do work with the budget and just helping to fund safe passage and other community-based policies that help prevent gun violence. We also focus on education. So that's first educating ourselves on what's going on in DC. I'm not a DC native, so it definitely took like this whole year and I'm still learning. That's why I'm happy to be on this call with all of you to hear all the amazing work that everyone's doing and the community groups that you just don't always hear about as much. And lastly, we do a lot of support. Like I'm always thinking, let's support the groups that are already in DC and already doing amazing work. So for example, Trigger Project, but also we did a project with the Marion Barry Youth Leadership Institute this past semester, and we actually it didn't come to fruition. They were supposed to give testimony to the DC Council, a bunch of students, but we might still try to do something along those lines. But it's just nice to meet everyone, and we're still kind of in the growing phase of our organization, but it's nice to learn from everyone and use all of your resources. And also shout out to Moms Demand, Katie and Pranav. They're like amazing.
Yes, I see them in here representing the 25 and up. Also representing the change because, like I shared with you earlier, Sweet Baby, we have to embrace listening as a skill that leads to healing. And my coach used to say, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And I think a lot of adults need to hear that. So I'll keep pushing that word for you. But thank you for being transparent and vulnerable, because that's also key components in healing, and letting us know that you guys are still planning, because hopefully everyone in this call can be a part of, uplifting your initiatives and 3 focus points. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
I'm going to wrap it up, but if anyone has a comment or is in dire need to share, I want to give you the stage. Before I share next steps and, send my love. Is there anyone?
I want to give, if we can all do a round of applause for Tia and the Trigger Project. You did such amazing work putting this together and bringing us all here in community. And I really want to thank you for all of your time and your energy. Echoing what a lot of other young folks said, you create such an incredible community that I'm really honored to be here. So thank you for all the work that you do. And all the love that you put into the world.
Thank you. Is a lot of people on this call that helped me become this way. So thank you for recognizing me. And I love you. With that being said, I don't want to go, but we got to go. Gun Violence Awareness Month, if this is something I can put on all of you guys' agenda, it's something that I want to have legislated here in D.C. Proclamation. Help me with the terminology, somebody. Is it proclamation? Yeah, something like that. I would like the mayor to give us proclamation for the entire month. We worked with Moms Demand Action to get it recognized for the day, but if maybe an email, text, call could happen after this to push it to become a full month, that would be beautiful. With that being said, tomorrow we have Keep DC Alive that we're going to be joining me as the Trigger Project and 4 Youth, where I'll be hosting the youth panel. So once I share the rest of my final notes, if you want to stay on this call for about 3 minutes to help me come up with questions for you that I want to be created by youth, that would be great, because these young people for the panel I'll be moderating will be speaking in front of council members tomorrow to de-invest and reinvest in community prevention. Next, if you can follow the Trigger Project and 4 Youth on social media, every day I'll be sharing a character skill that I would love for us all to develop in. Yesterday was hope. Tomorrow, I think, is emotional intelligence. I haven't looked that far yet. But each day we're growing in something that helps us overcome gun violence, something emotional. So I would love for you guys to participate in those trigger talks, because I've been pushing them out for about a week now. And I want your voices to be elevated. Let's see. We have an adult intersection coming up on June 20th. We have a story time segment that's going to be on this Thursday on Instagram and Zoom, where a gentleman who recorded a lot of 1990s and early 2000s crime scenes in D.C. wrote a book about it, and he's going to share his testimony. I'm doing it late at 8 o'clock because we have shootings that happen a lot in the daytime, but around that time too. So I'm hoping that some of our babies and our young men and women who are thinking about using the gun to talk could be a part of this story time. And lastly, I just want to end on a huge thank you. I feel extremely just reawakened and light and ready to take on the rest of the month. I love you guys dearly. And if anyone doesn't want to say anything, Katie has shared to Keep DC Alive. There's apps called Party of Lincoln and 5 calls that also allow you guys to organize and mobilize efficiently. And like I said, this isn't going to be the last one, so stay tuned. Love you guys. Understand the shooter. Happy Gun Violence Awareness Month.
So wait, we can. Oh, it's time to go. It's time to leave.